Where is the need of a city when there are institutions like IIT Madras, Kharagpur, and various other institutions in India and all over the world? And as Dr. Jayanti Ravi mentioned, one of the conditions, the only condition to live in Auroville, is to be a willing servitor of the divine consciousness. Now, where that divine consciousness word comes into play and why? So this takes me to another word which all people, scientists and technical people are fully aware with, is evolution. We all talk about evolution. We ourselves are part and parcel of that evolution. But there is a core word which is not normally used. What is involved? What is involute? How come from nothing all that has emerged, from the non-organic to the organic, from the organic to where we are today, this stage? So Sri Aurobindo, at one stage of his life, started asking this question to himself. Like most of us, once in a while, question why we are here, who are we, what are we here? And deeper and deeper, when he delved into the subject, he came to the conclusion, which I think most of the sciences also agree with it, that all behind this is a consciousness. Religions have given it different names. Scientists have their own definition of it. And Sri Aurobindo called it a divine consciousness. How is that divine consciousness related to evolutionary process? According to him, it is the divine consciousness that becomes matter, and it is the divine consciousness, then it starts evolving into, so therefore he has identified the involute as the divine consciousness. And briefly, according to this philosophy and also going along with the scientific interpretation of the evolution, today the highest rung of that evolution is people like us, the human beings. We're not only physical, but they have vitality and they have also a mind. A mind which is still evolving. Also, I'm not surprised if I mention it to you, that even the physical is still evolving, both in the human beings as well as otherwise. And the survival of the fittest is a story that everybody knows. I don't have to repeat it. But the fact remains that at this level of our understanding and mind's evolution, we have also come to realize something which is not very definitive, but it is an idea that we are pursuing, and we use the word psychology very commonly. And also, we use the word spirituality. According to Sri Aurobindo, these words are the indicators of the next stage of evolution. From the mental being, with the full explosion of the mind's capacities to develop, the next stage is psychic, and from the psychic to what we can term as a spiritual. It is actually an adventure in which, so far, we have not actively participated. But Sri Aurobindo believes that with our mind being inquisitive, inquiring, wanting to know more and more, there is a possibility that human beings coming together with a common concrete objective can actually effectively consciously participate in the evolution, to hasten the process. Another word I want to share with you at this moment is, in evolution, when we talk about, we also talk about mutation. Mutation is a process where overall consciousness or evolution reaches a point where it needs to take the next step, and that step is called mutation. So Sri Aurobindo's thesis is that this mutation can only take place when the mind of all the humanity reaches a certain point from which it can jump to the next one, because there's no direct movement as such. And in this context, he believed that practically a physical focal point is necessary, where these could be tried out and tested out as an experimental lab. That's Auroville. One aspect of it you have sensed today with the presentation. But the objective of Auroville is to be a living laboratory. Although she talks about certifications and various other things and all that, that is perhaps the need of the present. But as it has been conceived, it is a knowledge for exploring, where you don't require any other people's recognition of your knowledge, but knowledge for the sake of exploring and going forward towards that level where, because from finite to infinite, it is not easy for a finite being to give all the answers. But as explorer and as adventurer, you learn more and more. Science has one way of doing it through practical experiments and instruments. But the mind and the psychic has another dimension, which also does the same kind of exploration, and both of them can combine and confirm the knowledge very scientifically, if you want to use a scientific word, and move forward. So Auroville is that cauldron of experience and experiment, drawing people from all over the world to work towards that kind of an approach, where your bottom line is that you have a common sense of working towards values which are termed spiritual. Because spirituality is a word which is confusing to a lot of people. You will be going to Matri Mandir, I hope, in the afternoon, and therefore I want to give you a reference, because Matri Mandir explains it in our understanding and in our languages, because you'll find that there are 12 gardens which are dedicated to evolutionary process, from the physical matter to the perfection in terms of the physical areas. Then as you enter, you will see there are projections which we call petals, 12 petals. If we take the Indian aspect of the names and so on and so forth, they come from the Indian cultural and Vedic tradition. But Mother made it very simple for us. She gave them French names and also English names. Humility, sincerity, equanimity, and so on and so forth. Values when we are practicing whilst we are living and doing the things that we do normally as a chore. These values give us the possibility of more positive, inquisitive approach towards life and towards the further knowledge and so on and so forth. And then you also will come across 4 entrances which are also been named in the typical Sanskritic words, Maheshwari, Mahasaraswati, Mahakali, Mahalakshmi. And there again, we have our own notions from the different backgrounds that we come from. But the notion that Sri Aurobindo, the mother, has given it to it is Maheshwari is wisdom. Mahasaraswati is a knowledge not of only the physical knowledge, but the knowledge of the totality. Mahakali is the energy and the power that is vital and that gives us the possibility to go forward. And the outcome is beauty and harmony. That's Mahalakshmi. So when we are working with these values, whether we're working with 3D housing or whether we're working with a research or things like that, when our integral values grow more and more into that kind of a way of life, without saying, differences of opinion disappear. Human unity has been attempted because the mind wants the unity. But what do we see all over the world? All the attempts are basically intermissions between the wars. Human unity is not practically possible at the mental level. It will only be possible when we go from the psychic to the spiritual, where each one knows without any differences to do what is right and be what Sri Aurobindo calls the divine anarchy. Today it sounds like a utopian idea, but Auroville is here to work towards it. And why the city? Why not an institution like yours or anybody where you can come, learn the knowledge, philosophy, like old times of Nalanda and Takshila and so on and so forth? Because this requires practicing of these values, continuously passing them on from generation to generation, from imperfection towards perfection. That is the real cause of it being a city. Again, it has been conceived as a city of 50,000 people, as a focal point of that module that can create the possibility of showing that mutation is possible. And what is very interesting, in the population divide of this city, 17,000 are conceived to be the children from the 0 to 18 age group. 7,000 are perceived to be their mentors in terms of all aspects of education, cultural, and various backgrounds. So 24,000 of this supposed population is to be that future of our world. Balance 26,000. I just want to share it because it's part of our master plan. 2,000 of them are going to be dedicated to producing food and things like that, what we call agroforestry. Balance 24,000, allowing people like me to retire and sit back and talk to you, few of us. The balance, about 28,000 people totally, including that 7,000 that I mentioned, are the active people of taking care of the economy of the city, the research, and all the other functions and everything, and at the same time, being the willing servitors of the divine consciousness, preparing these children and for those children to prepare their children in future. That is the continuity of a city. In that is also conceived from the very beginning what was originally conceived as University of Peace, which is now gradually evolving to another dimension, and that has been finally conceived as a center of international research and human unity, which is the one it is in the making, which basically will eventually become Auroville's interface with your work and various other works, but it has a function of researches, not only in the physical sciences, but also in the psychic and the spiritual sciences. So it is going to be a comprehensive, integral platform for what is happening in the world and what is happening in Auroville to correlate and coordinate to take the world forward. In that one, I want to again refer back to Matri Mandir and tell you that 4 entrances have these 4 names that I've shared with you. But the perception behind it is that knowledge on its own, whatever it invents, whatever it creates, whatever it innovates, energy that you put into it, and then you convert it to a viable product, if it is not supported by wisdom, it can also have an impact, negative as well as positive. But wisdom is the one which guides you in ignoring the negative and leading it towards the positive. And human unity is the positive aspect against the present situation and so on. So wisdom is an essential component, and that comes from the psychic and the spiritual level. With this, I say no more, because you will learn it for yourself more and more. Thank you very much.